One of my favorite parts of Scripture is when the disciples asked Jesus direct questions. I think Jesus loved that too. At one point, they asked him how they should pray, and he taught them the Our Father. In the Gospel of Thomas, saying 18, the disciples ask Jesus how they will end. And Jesus says, "Have you already discovered the beginning? Then that you are asking about the end? For where the beginning is, the end will be too. Blessed is the one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and will not taste death." The Gospel of Thomas, saying 18. And friends, as usual, I would like to tell you an inspirational story based on this commentary. The cafe was hushed except for the low hum of conversation and the occasional hiss of the espresso machine. Rain tapped gently against the wide front window, streaking the glass in silver threads. Sarah sat tucked into the corner, her Bible open in front of her, though her eyes had glazed past the thin pages. The coffee in her mug had long since cooled, untouched. She pressed her head against her hand, whispering so softly that only God, or perhaps the rain, could hear. "Lord, how will my story end? What will become of me?" Her words hung heavy in the air, blending with the smell of roasted beans and cinnamon pastries. She felt as though her life was a book missing its last chapters. Would the ending be one of triumph or disappointment? Would her fears outweigh her faith? At the table beside her sat an older man. His presence was quiet, unassuming, yet somehow impossible to ignore. His coat smelled faintly of cedar and rain. He leaned toward her, not intrusively, but with a tenderness that felt almost fatherly, and said, "Sometimes when we worry so much about the end, it's because we've forgotten the beginning." Now, Sarah turned, startled, her voice uncertain. "What do you mean?" The man's eyes glimmered like he carried a secret that was both ancient and brand new. The words Jesus spoke to his disciples, they still live. If you know where your life began, with him, then you already know where it will end. The story is secure. The author hasn't left a single page unwritten. The sounds of the cafe seemed to blur, as if the world had grown quiet just for her. Sarah's heart stirred with memories. The night as a child when she first prayed at her bedside, the tears she shed at youth camp when she felt God's presence for the very first time, the overwhelming sense of being loved beyond measure. Now, those moments were her true beginning, not her career struggles, not her failures, not even her proudest achievements. Her life had begun in Jesus, and if the beginning was in him, then surely the end would be in him too. The stone of fear pressing on her chest began to roll away. She realized she didn't need to know every detail of tomorrow. She didn't need to fear the last page. The one who had written her first breath was already holding the final word. Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from relief. Sarah closed her Bible, her hands trembling with a new kind of peace. She looked up to thank the man, but the seat across from her was empty, the cedar and rain scent fading like a whisper. Only his words remained, echoing in her soul. Blessed is the one who stands at the beginning. Now, friends, this story reveals the heart of Jesus' teaching. He is both the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Life's uncertainties lose their grip when we remember that our ending was already secured the moment our story began in Him. And we don't need to unravel every detail of the future. We need to stand firm in the love of Christ that started our journey. And in that beginning lies the peace for today, courage for tomorrow, and the unshakable hope of everlasting life. God bless you, my friends.